One of the greatest transfers in the history of the sport has finally seen Hamilton step foot in Maranello, officially as a Ferrari driver on 20th of January. And make no mistake, he won't be sitting idle and soaking in the glory for a long period. It's time to work, and Hamilton, as well as Vasseur, know that the best, which is why there are numerous tests that are already scheduled for the 7-time world champion to catch foot with Leclerc and Ferrari's machinery in a heartbeat. But can this actually happen? And how will the entire journey of Hamilton and Ferrari shape out to be in the end? The fateful day has been finally brought to our attention as Hamilton stepped foot in Maranello in the role of a Ferrari driver on the 20th of January. As you can already imagine, the team had some work ready to be done for him, with a simulator session alongside his teammate Leclerc, as well as many meetings with Ferrari employees and engineers. Of course, it's easy to assume that Hamilton and Adami are already in touch because the 7-time world champion has been asking left and right about his new race engineer, receiving positive notes from Vettel, but there are tons of other personnel that he's yet to meet there, and these people will definitely shape his future in Ferrari. Hamilton will be headed towards his first test in Fiorano this Wednesday, driving the 2022 version of Ferrari's car in what's supposed to be the wake-up test for the team at their own track. The test itself has a very simple goal: getting the team and the drivers up to speed ahead of the official pre-season running that is set to take place at the end of February. However, there are some risks regarding the weather conditions that could prompt the team to move away from this test and make a plan B for Hamilton, which involves either postponing it or moving it to a different venue. Nevertheless, Hamilton has his hands full, and the first message he sent to the fans of Ferrari is truly heartwarming. He wrote it in both Italian and English as part of his integration process, in which he will likely address the Italian media in their native language. We've seen an insert of Hamilton speaking Italian on his first day at Ferrari, and when talking about the first day here in Maranello, he went on to say, "Day one, I'm grateful to John Elkann, Vigner and Vasseur for their trust in me and making me part of this family. I am so excited to start this new era and to meet and work with a hugely talented and inspiring group of people who have been so welcoming. I am dedicated to bringing everything I have to deliver for the team, the wider organisation and the fans." There is no doubt about it, the hopes are now that Ferrari can compete for both championships from day one, and with the strongest lineup on the grid, I don't think it's a far-fetched scenario to say that Ferrari will invest their everything in trying to win both categories prior to the new regulations. Of course, Hamilton's tenure with Ferrari will extend way beyond 2025, as his goal was probably aimed at the newly regulated era, one in which his former ally from Mercedes, Loic Serra, will have a massive impact on. But nevertheless, it doesn't mean that Hamilton won't try and persuade a championship on the first try with Ferrari. The first actual touch that Hamilton will have with the 2025 car of Ferrari will be on the 3 days of pre-season testing in Bahrain. That's happening between the 26th and 28th of February, and then the team is set to return to Italy for an event in Milan that is organised by one of their sponsors, UniCredit. So the first chapter of Hamilton's Ferrari career is now finally on its way, but obviously we are the most excited about the 16th of March, the first ever race of Hamilton in a red suit. This is when the 2025 campaign kicks off, and we can safely assume that Hamilton will give his all to establish a safe and precise collaboration with his race engineer as well as with the car, which is not as easy as it sounds. Worries about his one-lap performances have been voiced in the media, and this is something that would likely prompt both Ferrari and Hamilton to insist on simulator work a bit more than usual. But according to Vasseur, this is not something we should be worried about with this scenario becoming a reality. Furthermore, there will be a lot of question marks regarding Hamilton's feedback to the engineers, something that he's been heavily scrutinised for in the past and has been scrutinised recently by figures like Ralf Schumacher, who believe that the Brit doesn't have what his brother had while being in Ferrari, the ability to revolutionise the team and build a championship-winning car like Michael did. This would probably be the number one myth that Hamilton would have to bust in Ferrari, along with the fact that he would need to beat the leader Leclerc as early as possible, which might be quite hard given the qualifying comparison between these two drivers in the 2022 regulated era. Of course, the 2024 qualifying has not gone exactly Hamilton's way, and that's why he will have a lot to prove to the F1 world, because in such a compacted grid with young drivers in fast cars like Antonelli and Lawson who will be eager to prove themselves, Hamilton doesn't have room for mistakes at all. Elaborating further on the qualifying woes of Hamilton, Vasseur threw away any claims that they would continue at Ferrari, as he said, "Yes, Hamilton struggled in qualifying over the past couple of years, but first of all, we are well placed to know that it's on Sunday that you are scoring points. But I think we as a team fell a little bit in 2023 as well, because we were probably the best in quali, but we struggled in the race. It means that we have to keep the focus on the race, a decent step forward in 2024, but we have to keep this approach." And this is why the new chapter of Hamilton's life is something that has a great potential to shapeshift his career and legacy in this sport, which is an aspect that he reflected on while giving statements in Maranello. When talking about it, Hamilton said, "There are some days that you know you'll remember forever, and today, my first as a Scuderia Ferrari HP driver is one of those days. I've been lucky enough to have achieved things in my career I never thought possible, but part of me has always held on to that dream of racing in red. I couldn't be happier to realise that dream today." Again, Hamilton is not going to rest a single bit throughout the pre-season testing, because he is already missing out on a lot despite his secret visits to Maranello back in 2024 as a Mercedes driver and some requests being made. Ferrari has been understood to schedule a 3-day private test in Barcelona, which would involve testing and driving around 1,000 kilometres throughout this interval, and with the test in Fiorano, it would be more than enough for the 7-time world champion to understand the characteristics of the car, at least from the surface. What we do know is that 2025 is going to be a brand new year for Hamilton and Leclerc in terms of the car's behaviour, with Vasseur admitting that the car is going to be very different compared to what we saw in 2024. Around 99% of the concept will change, and whether or not that will be enough to fight for the championship, it's up to Hamilton and Leclerc to prove. But Vasseur is adamant that they have the best duo on the grid that could maximise absolutely everything out of the car. Speaking about its characteristics, the Frenchman said, "If it will be competitive, we'll find out in Bahrain. Sometimes you don't realise you're taking risks until afterwards. The car will be completely new. I think we'll have less than 1% of the parts in common with the 2024 cars. It's a different project, but the same applies to everyone. We can't say now if 2025 will be our year, but I trust the project we are working on. It will still be an intense challenge like the one we just completed. I am very proud of how we tackled difficulties this year, but we must take another step towards consistency." The eye will be on Hamilton's one-lap performance as well as his adaptability to a new environment, and with Angela Cullen likely making a comeback with the 7-time world champion in a professional manner, it's easy to assume that Hamilton is definitely giving his all to make this process a lot smoother. However, it's worth mentioning that Leclerc is still the leader of the team because of his experience and his status among the Tifosi. And with all this in mind, do you think that the 7-time world champion will have a successful tenure in Ferrari, or do you think that Leclerc would somehow prevail to be the dominant force and make Hamilton's life miserable? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to know more about the intra-team drama in Mercedes now that Antonelli has been promoted as Russell's teammate, make sure to check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.